thoughts can be like tiny little fish that you have to try to catch with your bare hands. That's how it often is. There's all these thoughts swimming around, but you have to try to actually grab them individually in your hand. It can be very difficult. And then, and it can be a challenge that you become absorbed in this challenge of trying to catch this thought that keeps getting away from you. And then when you finally catch it, it might not be all that astounding. And when you finally catch it and hold it solidly in your hand, if you succeed, you find, well, it's not that astounding of a thought. It's just that the process of trying to retrieve it was itself such a challenge. So I find myself thinking about why it is that being consciously aware of thoughts, whether they're thoughts that you've had that have gone through your head while you're awake, or whether it's dreams, which is just another variety of mental process that's very elusive, very difficult to catch the dreams. They're very slippery little tiny fish that you only have your bare hands usually to catch them with. I just had some dreams that I can remember some of them fairly clearly. There was this, I was in this house, people were having this party, and I was trying to get out of the house without anybody, without being caught. That I was just trying to get away on my bicycle, and there was this bag of my old bottles in this plastic bag that I was going to take, and some of my books. And that part of the dream relates, I'm sure, to the fact that I still have to get my stuff moved from my old house. It's still there, and I urgently have to get that done. So I had a dream kind of about that. And just before that part of the dream, I had been going through this restaurant. And there was a problem, and then there was a situation. The police were coming, and I was floating around. I had this flashlight, and I was shining this flashlight down on this party and saying, "Police raid, police raid." It was some kind of a party, and people were like skinny dipping in the pool, and I was shining this flashlight on them and scaring them, saying, "Police raid." Why I would have that dream, I guess there's a few possible. I found this little flashlight, and that might be part of the flashlight part of it. And later, okay, at the other dream that I said I was at this house, I was talking to this girl, and she was saying that where would you get spy equipment? It would be fun to get some spy equipment. And she said, I wonder where you would get that. And I told her, well, she said, where would the best place to be to get such things? And I said, well, I recommend Brick House Security, which is the actual online company that I ordered my little camera from. So in your dreams, you do remember some specific actual knowledge very, very accurately. It wasn't like my mind made up and invented the company for her. My mind had the information of the name of this company and the memory that I had used that company. That was somehow able to be converted into dream files. It's like conversions of files. Some of our consciousness files get converted into the dream format, and some find it very difficult to convert, or converting files back. That may be a good analogy for why it's so hard to remember dreams. That trying to remember dreams when you wake up is like trying to access like files, computer files, let's say, called the video files, that are recorded on an incompatible format. They have to be what was that word that I just was using? Transcribe? I guess. Well, anyhow, there it is. Sometimes I know the word, and sometimes I can't consciously think of the word. Converted. Oh yeah. Some dream files. Most of our dreams may be in a format that needs to be that can't be converted, or is very difficult to convert into the format of files in our conscious mind. So let's consider this maybe a part of the reason why it can be so difficult to remember dreams. It may be like trying to transfer files from an Apple computer to a regular Microsoft system, and they have incompatible files, and it can be very difficult. And there was this dream not dream. There was a thought that I had a few days ago, maybe 4 or 5 days ago. The funny thing is, sometimes when I have these thoughts that I can't quite remember, I can remember where I was standing when the thought was coming. I can't remember what the thought was, but I can remember I was standing over by the counter when this thought or semi-thought came sort of floating by. So sometimes thoughts float by your mind and they're not converted into conscious thought files. Like sometimes let's say you smell something. You smell a certain fragrance and it reminds you of something. The first you get this sensation of being reminded, then you get this conscious awareness of the word reminded. Then, so you can think, that feeling of recognition, I'm going to give it names. I'm going to apply words like recognition and remembrance, memory, reminding. Then you start consciously. Do you fucking hear that? That car dragging down the street. At 2:20 in the morning. Okay, so, and of course, words. Thank you, random asshole driving your car, for interrupting my stream of thought. Thank you. Yes, your mind has to consciously select vocabulary to apply to these sensations that it has. First, you have the sensation of being reminded, or of recollection, or of a fragrance, and then your mind starts applying English vocabulary words such as, oh yes, fragrance is what applies to that, memory is what applies, and so we start converting the raw material of actual sensations, or actual mental sensations, into the intellectual specificness of words, of specific words from the spoken language. And sometimes you have a thought floating. Sometimes you have these thoughts that are floating by your mind, and you can kind of sense them like clouds floating. But if you haven't reached your hand up and grabbed them and molded them into the form of specific words of the language to specifically word these things, then the thoughts kind of float by, unexpressed, unconverted into vocabulary format. Difference of format. That thoughts and feelings are like clouds that have their own substance, but that substance exists on its own, and we usually need to convert that substance into a format of word, language, vocabulary to make it seem specific to us so that we can convey it to each other. And I guess that's where telepathy, or to be an empath, empathism. Was that the word? Because if I say empathy, then you just think, well, empathy. But actual empathicism, to actually be an empath, to be able to transmit or receive actual feelings directly from another person without going through the process of having to have them converted into language, but directly receiving them or transmitting them, just as telepathy would be directly receiving or transmitting thoughts without putting them into words. And sometimes thoughts are like these clouds that aren't formatted into language. And if we don't format them into language to record them, they can float by us, and we can remember the experience of them floating by in our mind without remembering what exactly the thought was. So I had like this little semi-wisp of a thought cloud floating by my mind sometime 4 to 5 to a week days ago to a week ago, as I was standing at the counter. And I do remember what the general, in this case, remember what the general nature of this thought was, but I never got it specifically, so, oh, there goes the damn microphone. I think I have to stop. Okay, well, see you next time.